Hello, and welcome to another episode of an Unexpected Podcast. My name is Tim, and with me as always, we have Matt, Rainier, and Devin. On this week's episode, we're going to be going over a list by Alessandro, and again, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, as I always do, but
It's been so long, Tim. It's refreshing to hear you mispronouncing
exactly. I've got to mess up, make up for time. God, this could be terrible. I'm going to say Bigiani, but I could be very, very wrong on that one. And then we're going to be going over Dunland, the Legendary Legion, along with all the other profiles. So we're going to go into the list review first, as we always do. And Alessandro has the first warband with Gandalf the White on Shadowfax. He has 7 Guard of the Found Court with Shield, 4 Rangers with Spear, 1 Warrior of Minas Tirith with Banner, Shield, and Spear, 2 Warriors of Minas Tirith with Shield and Spear, 1 Knight of Minas Tirith with Shield, and his second warband, he has Irolas leading them, with 4 Guard of the Found Court, 4 Guard of the Found Court with Shield, 4 Rangers with Spear, 2 Knights of Minas Tirith with Shield, 1 Citadel Guard on horse with Longbow, 1 Warrior of Minas Tirith with Shield and Spear, and his third warband is led by Forlong, and he has 7 Axemen and 3 Blackroot Vale Archers with Spears. It's 798 points, it's 40 models, 9 might, and 12 bows. He thinks the first 2 warbands are pretty solid. He wasn't sure how to build the third one, since he likes to add a little bit of killing power. He tried Huron, but didn't please him. He wanted some fiefdom troops, but not really sure which is the best. So obviously the main talking point of this list is Gandalf the White, which obviously has gotten a big boost in the new edition. He is able to kill stuff, but you still have to be conservative, of course, but he's much better. So it's kind of like you have another hitting hero if you keep him safe and try and keep him on troops more than heroes. You have a lot of Found Court Guard. So you have the defense 7 in the front, and you have the fight 4 there as well, along with the Rangers to give the fight 4. You have, I believe, 2 cavalry models, so a little bit to get around. I believe it's how many archers? 7, 4, and 4. So you have 15 bows, plus I think 1 on horse, so 16 bows, so a good amount of bows. I think it's I'm not sure on Irolas. I'm always a Madril person personally, and I know that would only work towards Minas Tirith, but I guess I'm always a fan of Madril because I think the ability to come together is for me. But I understand Irolas in this list. I love Forlong, obviously, having the strength 5 mounted hero, and then with what he brings, and the Axemen are always a nice little boost. I like the little killing power you added there as well. 40 models at 800 is okay. Your heroes, Gandalf's so expensive that's going to happen. And you have a nice little middle tier hero in Forlong. I worry about if you have enough killing here, to be honest with you. Because everything is strength 3 besides if the Axeman were to piercing strike. And with 40 models, I worry that it'll be a game of attrition. But I'll go over to Matt on his opinions.
So the problem I see with this list is that the only strike in this list is Gandalf. And that is frightening at the 800 point level. And I think that's where this list, doesn't compete. You've got a march and you've got a tank in Irolas, but Forlong, although he is kind of a good troop killer, does not have strike, which means that the only guy you can send in against, kind of the other guy's top tier heroes, and there are going to be other top tier heroes in the other guy's list at 800 points, is Gandalf. And
who's your general, by the way?
Who's your general, and who's probably going to be spending at least 1 point of might to channel something. So he's not going to have a lot of might left over. Until I kind of read the postscript here where he said he tried adding Huron and the result didn't please him so much. My solution to this was to get rid of Forlong and add Huron. But if Huron doesn't please him, I don't know what the solution is unless the solution is to, get rid of Iralas and add Huron or something along those lines. I think at a minimum, if this is your list, I would invest the time and effort necessary to convert Forlong to a Forlong on horse and find 10 points somewhere and throw him on a horse. Because I think you need that kind of Forlong on foot. Dies.
Oh, he's on foot. Jesus.
On foot.
Yeah.
He dies.
I didn't even, that's so rare to even put him on foot that I didn't even think, was like, oh yeah, of course he's on horse.
Well, I mean, it's not that rare to put him on foot because that's the only way he comes, right?
Yeah.
You got to,
you have to modify or
buy the unreleased miniature to get him on a horse. I've recently taken the plunge to modify him, but the problem is when he's on foot, because he doesn't have strike and he doesn't have defense, is he waddles up to the battle and then some mid-tier hero with strike and a horse comes charging into him and gorges him in one turn, and then he's gone. So I'm not sure Forlong's the way to go. I'll hand it over to the other two of you and I will kind of think on this more, but I'm not quite that I've identified the problem. I don't have a solution.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, sorry, Rainier.
Oh no, I just want one quick edit. It's actually 12 bows.
Yeah.
But I think it's 12 because the 7 Fountain Court Guard. I think there's a little mix up there. But that said, yeah, I don't know how I would change it to. Of course, spend those 2 points somehow. But he does have everybody kind of maxed out because now I'm like, oh, how would you spend those 2 points? Maybe if you want more killing powder, drop one of the foot models to add.
Oh, that's what this list needs is killing powder.
Killing powder.
Blow it on the enemy.
Yeah, killing powder. Yeah. So maybe add another knight or something like that. I understand what Alessandro says about not being too keen with Huron. I don't really like Huron that much too, because even if you throw him against a mega hero, if he loses the fight, he's dead.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Forlong a little better because Forlong he's fat, so he has a little bit of cushion, So of course, put him on the horse and treat him as like a troop killer with his fight 5, and he gets like that lance special ability with his spear. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm curious what Devin says because I am not sure. I'm kind of like in Matt's camp too. The only thing I would change possibly would be Forlong for Huron, although I do like Huron a little better.
I'm actually flipping through the book here and about maybe some inspiration because I'm assuming he's going to want to stay Green Alliance. I'm assuming he wants the bonus. I mean, he's basically with Forlong in here a fearless army, but he already has a lot of Fountain Court Guard anyway. So kind of does that even matter? So, I was thinking of some options. Like, I don't know. I was starting to think of Rohan and like, I don't know. Theodred is the same price as Forlong. Strike, not a bad option, very hard hitting. There was even a thought, which I don't know how to do this, to throw in like Eomer, is a little more points heavy, but then it's like, do you want to switch to Cav, which are of course going to be more expensive than these troops? You already have a low model count, so probably not.
I mean, he doesn't have that low a model count. I mean, he's at 40 points at 800, which is fine. If 40, he actually had some power there in the heroes to
let me ask you this,
buff it up.
It's 40 models at a baseline, like 5.
It's not a horde. It's got an average number.
Mm-hmm. Average number at a 5 defense average as well. Like
5 defense average?
I wonder.
You have 8 models of defense 4. You have Tim, just finishing the thought real quick. Yeah. You have a lot. 8 models defense 4, and then you have a large bulk there at defense 5. Citadel guard, guys with, I guess shield spear combo. Okay, so more. Okay, the Fountain Court guard defense 7. So I'll give it to you on that. I guess he's only really weak to shooting, which he's not because he's got Gandalf. So okay,
right.
All right, high defense. I'll give that. So
yeah, I mean,
sorry, Tim.
Go ahead, Tim.
I want if you drop, and maybe you guys if you dropped all the Fountain Court Guard down to regular Minister Earth Warriors, it saves you 33 points. Do you use that to upgrade Airlas to Faramir? And maybe add another hitting hero in that regard. And then you get the other strike that you mentioned as well.
Are you upgrading Faramir completely, though? I mean, are you giving the whole?
Let's see, Airlass is what, 65, so you get about 100 points for Faramir. Give or take.
Is Faramir base 100?
Faramir, let me see if I can find that out real quick. Faramir is 80 points base. So if you gave him a horse, heavy armor, and shield, he'd be 100. So
yeah, anyway, I was wondering about Faramir. I'm not sure Faramir replaces Irolas because Irolas is the march.
You could replace him with Forlong.
He's also the tank. He could replace Forlong.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. And that costs less money or less points if you did do that. Maybe you keep a couple Fountain Court as well.
Although I have to say, I was intrigued by the Theoden idea. Yeah. And I also wonder about the drop some of the guard of the Fountain Court to regular warriors with shield, maybe not all of them. And wonder if, that's enough to get, even if it's just Theoden and half a dozen Royal Guard on a horse.
To clarify, I'm not against Theoden, but I said Theodred or Aramir, but you could do Theoden. The reason I stayed away from Theoden is because he becomes your general all of a sudden, which is fine if you want to get Gandalf off of it, but you could do the same with Eomer anyway, or Theodred. In having Theoden,
I think you need Theoden because I think you need the Theoden buffs to go with the cavalry.
If you're going to bring the cav in, then yeah. So then, I would say Theoden if you're bringing enough cav to make his buffs make sense.
Right.
If you're bringing less than 6, then it's like
because you could also get rid of.
I like the small drop of just Theodred or Aylmer though. I think we talked about this in the Rohan.
Yeah, like a few cav models.
They're really cheap for you can get up to defense 7, 3 might, strike. They can kill stuff pretty well.
You can get rid of the Knights of Minas Tirith, honestly. Once you drop them,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you drop in some cav from Rohan.
Right. Yeah, get rid of the Knights of Minas Tirith, and then you could probably save some money on the infantry somewhere and drop in some cav from Rohan. I guess my tendency is to go with Theoden just because of all the buffs he brings. But I think you're right. If you're just going to have Aomer and one guy, then don't do it. Then you can do Aomer. But if you're going to have a half dozen cav, I think you want Theoden with him.
Yeah, I probably go the route takeout because he does ask the question. He would like to add fiefdom troops, but he's not sure if it's the best list. I think we're all leaning towards go Rohan instead.
Yeah,
because to add something to kill, you have to bring Imrahil, and he's way too expensive for what you're.
Yeah, I looked at Imrahil for a second, and I was like,
my vote would be Theodred or Eomer with maybe one guy. Just get another tank in the list, blinding light. Maybe instead of Irolas, have Madrigal, so Theodred or Eomer come in with the army, and then you have everything together, and you have Gandalf, a tank from Rohan, and a battle line of the front is D7 with some shooting. I think that'll be pretty good.
To clarify, go ahead.
I was going to say I have to say I like the Theodred option. I think that kind of it's barely an upgrade on points from Forlong, so you can still kind of keep your Fountain Court if you want. And I think it kind of solves all the issues of another big hero, even though Forlong is obviously not a slouch himself. But yeah, what were you saying, Devin?
Well, I guess before moving into the Dunland armies to round it out, how does everyone feel about Gandalf the White himself? Because you don't see that too often.
Yes, the old Gandalf the White debate.
Yeah, I'm just curious if obviously we're not recommending removing it from the list because clearly it's the pinnacle of the list. Is there, do we feel, I guess in my opinion, I think in this list specifically, I'm happy with it because he has 12 bows. So it kind of allows him to, really protect the army in the sense he can probably outshoot, maybe not an elven army backed by Círdan or anything like that, but most average armies, he can handle shots back and stuff like that. I guess that debate will rage on. Maybe we shouldn't wrap up with that because it'll carry on the debate for the next 10 minutes.
Well, let me actually raise a different question because we were talking about Theodred. So here's my problem with Theodred is if you're gonna bring Theodred, you need to bring Theodred and some buddies to keep Theodred in check.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna bring Theodred and some buddies to bring him in check, why wouldn't you just go with Theoden so that those buddies?
Well,
Go
with
up-
only 3
go up
buffs,
by-
I think.
Or go with
Yeah.
Aomer instead.
Well, Theodred is a hard-hitting person that I'm actually kind of wondering how often you want to keep him in check. Once you're ready to deliver him in,
Oh,
Like-
if he shows up by himself, then
well, no, certainly bring some buddies, but
Argument
three riders of Rohan getting a +1 fight bonus because he delivers what
+1 fight,
right?
+1 fight, and +1 strength on the
No,
chart.
well, the +1 strength is delivered by the army bonus. So
Oh
which
yeah,
will
okay,
bring-
all right.
So
I
it's
got that.
+1
Yeah.
fight. It's like, I mean, sure on 3 guys, but you're losing out on a much harder hitting and much more defensive. Well, same defense. So I'll give it that.
I don't know.
But-
I think I'm with Rainier. If we're going like one guy, go Aomer.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
Aomer, and then Earless for Madrill to like make sure Aomer's not by him his lonesome.
It's just the fact that he charges
So,
in and
so
rerolls all
Earless,
failed to ruined.
Earless to Madrill gets rid of a significant capability in this armory. I'm not sure I would do that because Earless is a tank and Madrill is not.
That's true.
Madrill is squishy, and Earless gives you the ability to have somebody you can just send into the big tough hero, call defense and shield, so that Gandalf and your cavalry can actually get something done. Madrill is like, I'm gonna hide in the backfield and occasionally come out and kill an orc.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Madrill is the right call on a list like this because one, you don't care to be divided that much, except for with Forlong, who doesn't mind spending his might to get back into the action. And if you switch him with Aomer, he also really doesn't care that much because he's so fast. So reasonably, I mean, you don't have enough drops for it to really matter. Everyone's got 3 points of might. So just dropping Gandalf first and then bringing the others around him. So Madrill's not adding a lot to this list that you actually need. So
What
Okay.
do you guys? I'll bring up one more point, and then we can kind of come together on what a general idea I think, because we've kind of gone here. What do you guys think about if you did go with Theoden and you replaced the 3 current horsemen? And I know Devin, you made the point of, well, why would you do that for 3 models? But if you did then decide to downgrade the Fountain Court Guard, you could add probably another 3 models, so you'd have 6 at that point. Do you consider
that's 6
that?
plus.
Yeah. Yeah. So
No,
would you consider that, or would you prefer the way that we were just speaking?
I would still prefer Aomer because like what this guy's trying to go for is killing power, and I guess the horses would be killing power, but I would.
Maybe
In the
that's
beginning
what
of the
this
epi-
army
in the beginning
needs.
of the
is a little
episode,
bit more
we
killing
talked
power.
about it needing a hero that could strike, it needing a hero that could survive, it needing a hero that can go toe to toe with other heroes. I still don't think Theoden is that.
I don't
And
know.
come on, I'm just saying
Supported by Shadow.
consider it. Oh, I'm just saying consider it. The thing is, when you switch from 2 attacks on Theoden to 3 on Aomer
Mhm.
on a mounted model, that means a lot.
Yeah,
It
that's
does
what-
mean a lot, but I guess what's attracting me to Theoden is the the half dozen Royal Guard, Fight 5 Royal Guard that come with him.
Mhm.
And then you don't need the guard of the Fountain Court because you've got bodyguard cavalry that can go and charge whatever it needs to. And Fight 5 bodyguard cavalry is no joke. But I can see the argument for doing Aomer, and I don't think that's wrong.
It'd be a cool theme to battle the Pelennor Siege of Gondor type, like Gandalf with
Yeah.
like the Royal
Yeah.
Guard and things. That'd be cool.
This is good. We haven't. It's always good when we get these types of lists where everybody kind of has their own. We kind of split up into sides of we want this and I want that, and so it's kind of cool. When I'd probably team Matt on this one, and I think Rainier's with Devin on this one. So we're kind of split on whether or not we'd go with Theoden or Aomer. But if you do decide to take this to, let's say, a tournament.
Seems like Mick has a thought.
Mick, yes, Mick. What is your
He's
thought on the whole
arisen.
matter?
Full crew today, guys.
I disagree with all of you.
So
What's
Mick,
the
what
key?
is real?
That
What's
sounds
the-
about right. That
Yeah,
sounds
and then he's gone. Yeah,
And then he leaves.
disagree with all of you, and then I'm out.
into the
Peace
abyss.
out.
We all know Mick would put Hammer in this list.
This is 800 points, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually played quite a similar list in a tournament in Scotland just before COVID hit, and also had Gun of the White and Shadowfax, and then just Fountain Guards, Gondorians, and stuff like that. It was really fun to play. I didn't do very well with it, but yeah, it was really fun to play.
So who is your third? Who is your third hero?
Yeah.
Who replaces Forlong?
Well, I actually had Gandalf, Hurin, and somebody else. I think it may have been Gandalf, Hurin, and Madril or something like that.
Yeah,
So it was vaguely similar to this.
I think I put together a Gandalf, Huron, and Madril list as well.
Yeah.
So Mick, me and Matt were kind of on Team Theoden, and I think they're on Team Aim. Or which side would you say you would go towards if you
We're
had
replacing Forlong.
I actually really like Theodred.
Theodred was one of mine, so me and Mick
Yeah,
are
Theodred.
also
How
on
about
the
this,
same-
Devin? Devin, me, and Mick all go Theodred. So
Yeah.
Matt, I
I'm
think
a
they're trying to
fan of the
sell us.
reroll all wounds. I'm like, unleash the beast.
he's a psychopath,
I
but
mean,
he's your
he's
psychopath.
really strong in that, like, if he's not your general, he's great. If he's your general, he's like the worst.
He's just a grenade. He's just like, go and seek
Yeah.
death.
Okay, so there's it. If anyone's ever missing all of the original podcast members, this is what happens. We get a list and we talk about it for way too long.
Yeah, right. Is there time to do the Dunland review now?
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing a
We're like,
Dunland
okay, here's the
review? I thought
profiles, and
I thought this was the whole episode. What are you talking about? All right. Thank
So
you for your list.
see you on the next episode of on the next podcast.
Thank you for your list, Alessandro. We're going to move on to the main topic for today, which is Dunland. So we'll start off with the first profile.
Cool.
All right. So we're going to go over Thryden. So I'll send it over to Devin if you want to go over Thryden.
All right. So we have Thryden Wolfsbane, who's basically the army general for this because we're just talking Dunland today. So 85 points. He's a man Dunland infantry hero for a hero of fortitude. So basically he is fight 5, strength 5, defense 5, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, 4 courage, 3 might, 2 will, 2 fate, armed with a 2-handed axe and a sword, thank God. So he's got heroic actions of heroic strike and heroic strength. He can be mounted with a horse, which you should always do. Mighty blow, which delivers basically 2 wounds for every wound he causes. And Lord of Dunland, his stand fast range is 12 inches regardless. So as far as Thryden and my thoughts on this guy, I actually think he's actually a fairly solid hero you're going to see outside of even Dunland lists. Dunland list being the Army of Dunland, the Legion that we're going to talk about. But even if you're just primarily Isengard, it's actually a very solid model, very hard hitter. The option to go 2-handed is not bad. Kind of wish he had Burley, but he doesn't. Other than that, always armed with a horse. He's a solid hero. He's just a hard-hitting hero. The only problem with him being your general is the fact that, luckily in an Isengard list, exclusively, he usually is never your general because he's a hero 42. But in a Dunland list, he usually has to be your general. In fact, he is. Yeah, he has to be your general. And defense 5 and 2 wounds kind of sucks. But that's pretty much the thought on him. So you want him hard hitting, but then it's like, I'm just going to send him at like infantry. And then like your mighty blow means nothing now. And so that's kind of the conundrum once he becomes your general. But in all other circumstances, he's not bad. You guys
yeah, I agree. I think I used to play with him. Dunland's on my list of evil men to play with because you guys know I'm obsessed with evil men. So I just painted these bad boys up also too, and I'm just waiting to go back to America to bring them to event. But same thing what Devin said, like I was never impressed with him at all because it's like, he can do this, that, he gets killed. But I think as we're going to talk about more profiles and the warriors, that's when we're going to kind of be like, yeah, like he's kind of a must to take. So I like that ability. The horse is really nice. It's a nice touch too for a mainly infantry army. But yeah, I just want to throw that out there.
Actually, the mighty blow is really scary.
Yeah.
I had a game
heroes.
at last Articon where I had Shelob, and I was just playing against Thryden, and I was just really scared that any time she'll just go and randomly die through Mighty Blow.
I mean, you're right. Mighty Blow that's where the temptation is. You want to throw him at heroes, but once he's your general, it's like, and then in the Dunland list, army, you don't have any magic to neuter the hero first. So you're really just like, Rook Strike. Good luck.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Dunland thing to do. You know?
I know, right?
Yes, like let's do it.
You're almost like,
Yeah.
send another hero to soften him up real quick.
Well, no, I mean, that's, I think, the way to use Thryden is he's like, you send him and you have him kill, troops for most of the game. And then in like the last couple turns, he charges the hero that you need to kill and you hope.
Yeah.
And the only problem with him is, because he's so squishy, even when he goes into like a couple of regular guys, if he botches his role, he can't afford to lose a combat.
Yeah.
So if you throw him into something, and you may well be like exhausting all of his might just to keep him from dying. And that's there's this fine line about like when you pull the pin on the grenade with Thryden and send him in, because you want him to go in early enough so that he still has some might left to do a heroic strike and do something, but not so early that he dies instantly and the rest of your army kind of collapses around him.
Yeah. So he's like a troop killer beginning to mid game, possibly hero fighter end
Later, yeah. As enemy heroes have been worn down.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, I don't know why he has defense 5, because it should be defense 6. He has the same armor as the Huscarls, and they're defense 5. And heroes are usually fight defense 4 base. So why is
I think it I don't
just
know,
right?
maybe underneath
Also, you look at the Warriors, and one of them has like a bear skin, and he's defense 4, and the other one has like thick mail, and he's the same defense. It's just like, I don't know.
Maybe because underneath all that mail, he's like, bare chested.
Yeah, there you go. He just forgot to wear clothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I remember there was this one tournament I went to, Matt. I think it was the first Shadow in the East, and I came up against a gentleman playing all Isengard, and I went against Thryden. And I remember the whole time I was thinking to myself, I'm like, Thryden he killed Shagrat in one turn because he managed to get Shagrat trapped, and he got 3 wounds. So he just he really is a very scary model if he gets in the right position, because he can take down near enough any hero in the game, really. Because with the 2 wounds and him being strike 5, especially if he goes two-handed, let's say, he can really take someone out very quickly, especially with the horse as well.
I mean, but the flip side is just about any hero in the game can take him out.
Him. Yeah, I was about to say. You have to win the combat.
That's right.
And when that's your general,
if the roll went bad, Shagrat, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, when that's your general, that's the problem. Like when he's not your general, yeah, screw it. But
So, if he is your general, then he's amazing in Fog of War.
yes, he is amazing.
In that scenario, you don't care.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
All right. I think that's pretty much Thryden. Nick, if you want to move on to the next profile, which is the Dunland Captain.
Shall we perhaps first go on to the named heroes and then see whether the Dunland Chieftain is even worth taking?
Worth taking, yeah.
Once
We
we've
like
seen all
our
the other
dessert
named
before
heroes. Yeah.
vegetables.
Yeah.
All right,
Let's give Matt one of the next.
All
All
right.
right, Matt, if you want to go over Gorulf Ironskin.
All right. Gorulf Ironskin, who is, I think, one of the few heroes in this game that comes with an accent mark as part of his name. He is 70 points. He's a man Dunland infantry hero. He is a hero of fortitude, move 6. He does not have the ability to have a horse, so he's just going to be moving 6. He's fight 5, 4+ shoot value, but that doesn't matter. Strength 5, defense 5, 3 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 4, 3 might, 1 will, 1 fate. He has armor, 2 axes, and a dagger, and he's got 2 axes because he's got 3 attacks, because that's what gives you 3 attacks if you're a mid-level hero, is that extra weapon. His heroic actions are heroic strike, heroic strength, and heroic defense. And he comes with a special rule, Ironskin. At the start of the fight phase, Gorulf is engaged with an enemy hero. He may declare a heroic defense without spending might. So Gorulf is the tank, right? He's a defense 5 tank, but he's a guy that you just kind of like send in against another hero. He calls heroic defense. If the other guy goes ahead and wins despite the heroic defense, then hopefully Gorulf's 2 wounds and 1 fate will be enough to see him through. If he fails, then Gorulf can go choppy, which is with his 2 axes. And presumably because he's calling the heroic defense, you can actually get Gorulf up to strength 6, because he can just go ahead and pierce, and who cares? So he's a 3 attack, strength 6 tank that can go in and call defenses and hope it works.
Yeah, I feel like he's that berserker model that we all ask for, a berserker hero. They just threw him into the Dunland list. But I think he's really good.
Yeah, there's no question. There's no question he's good. I think he is. If you're doing a Dunland list, if once you've taken Thryden as you must, he's the second guy that you take.
Yeah.
And he's actually sufficiently good that you will also see him showing up in like Isengard lists in places where people used to take Thryden. If they want a slightly cheaper option, they'll take Gorulf as a hero to kind of drop into an Isengard list, because he's he certainly has a role in the Isengard list as a whole.
I am glad they gave him 3 attacks, and I understand the 2 axes why, but because without it, weirdly enough, he's far more resilient against heroes than infantry. And so, like, you want to be an infantry killer, but you definitely want to back him up with a banner and spear and whatnot, because once he loses the combats, almost anyone can take him out. So the other little nifty trick, if you are someone going against Gorulf, and one thing you want to watch out for is if you have Gorulf and he has an open side for a hero, and a hero calls a heroic combat on some other one of your warriors, you should be wary of the slingshot into Gorulf, because Gorulf cannot call the heroic defense since he did not start combat with that hero. So it's a nifty little trick people will use to dispatch him to get rid of the heroic defense. So
well, he can still call strike and defense though ahead of time. So
he can, but
he could, but not for free.
Oh
yeah,
yes,
it's the burn his
yes,
might to do
You
it.
couldn't do it for free. So
And
it's
also
just something to note. If someone's doing that, you might want to call the defense, because that could be what's going on.
I like how you said that, like, he could die to basic troops, because I've also seen him being thrown into pike battle line and be like, I'm gonna like heroic combat and kill like 4 dudes, and then he loses the fights and dies.
Yeah.
Like make sure he has that support,
Yeah.
the banner, a spear or something, because he is, I don't know, he kind of reminds me of Huron on foot in a way for this list. He can kill stuff. He's got all these cool special rules, but yeah, he could die like in a snap of a finger.
He's only iron skinned against certain people. Your basic mook can splice right through him. So,
He's
Yep.
bare skinned, they're bare chested against other people.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When he sees how mighty you are, that's when he's like straps up.
No, he's got
So-
chainmail under his bare skin. That's why he's the same defense as Thryden.
So
Yeah.
I think the proper tactic with Gorulf is he's one of these guys that wants to lurk in like the 2nd or 3rd rank of kind of a mob, and then have somebody else call the heroic move, get to wherever he's going to go, and then as you're moving all your other figures in, you then get Gorulf slotted him against the hero. Yeah, and preferably either with 1 Huscarl, or if you're going Isengard, 2 pikes behind him.
Yeah.
Gorulf with 2 pikes behind him going in against a hero is kind of a frightening prospect for that hero. So
I would go ahead and say this is probably my favorite. I don't even know if you can call him mid tier, because he's so cheap for 70 points. Like, I feel like
he's mid tier. He's still
he's mid tier.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, because like you think about most captains are like 60 points, 55, something like that. Maybe not for evil, but he's 70 points, and for 70 points, this is probably my favorite profile in the game at that 60 to 85 point range. Because I think I remember when we went over this, me and Rainier talked about when we went over the War in Rohan book, that I loved the fact that he had strike and defense, because it gives you that versatility to go, okay, we have the same fight value, I can call defense, or if I need, like you said with the heroic combat, I can call strike ahead of time if I need to, and then even go from there. So you get that versatility. And then obviously, like you guys have mentioned, going into a hero with double pike, with 3 attacks, having a free heroic defense, strength 6. I mean, he can kill troops, he can kill heroes, 70 points, 3 might. He's probably my favorite mid-tier hero in the entire game. I love this profile.
I like what you said with options too, because it is, you can go against a hero with 2 attacks, they strike. You can be like, I'll defense for free. Why not? Like, you win, you're not really gonna like kill me. I win, I'm gonna kill you because I can like pierce up to strength 6. So it is kind of like just those options. A lot of heroes have defense strike. I think it's elevated a little bit. It's really good for his
I love this is one of my favorite profiles in the entire game. I love this
the one caution I'd put on him is, in addition to the problem of having somebody heroic combat into him so he doesn't get the defense, if a hero charges into him, a decent hero, like decent 3 attack hero, charges into him on horse, and wins the combat. I mean, it might save
it, might,
but it might not. Yeah,
but that's what I like about what Matt said too. It's kind of like you treat him like a Corsair hero, where you have him in the back ranks, you have him ready to like sneak into like one of these little pockets.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next profile. Rainier, do you want to go over Frida Talspeer?
Sure, I got it right here. So Frida Talspeer is 65 points. She's a woman, Dunlandine infantry hero of fortitude. Her baseline is fight 5, strength 4, defense 6, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 4, 3 might, 1 will, 1 wound. She does have a shield, armor, and a spear and a dagger. We'll talk about her spear here soon. But heroic actions are defense and strength. There's another like cool theme of like defense with Dunlanding. You're kind of like delaying heroes from doing stuff. She has 3 special rules. The first one is active. It's readied stance. Cavalry models do not gain the extra attack or knock to the ground bonuses when involved against Frida Talspeer or one she is supporting. So even if she supports Gorulf, the cavalry model that would like take him out is not going to get that bonus. So she has that like cool ability to stop something, but also support and stop something.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool because her spear is a Rohan spear too, so it's kind of like salt in the wound. So
it's a cool mod. I didn't notice that.
Well, I guess just two. So her second special rule is go for the horses. Her and friendly Dunlandine models within 3 inches of her may re-roll to wound rolls against mounts during a fight phase. So I really like that. That's a bubble.
Really
sometimes cool. Yeah, the bubble effect. You see these things where it's like a one thing, and you're like, okay, I could use that here and there. But the idea that like everyone's going to be rolling within 3 inches, I think that's really cool. She's another one of those things where if you go up against a cav army, they're just going to be kind of frightened wherever she is. They're like, I don't know if I want to engage this and risk losing all of my mounts or get killed or something like that. So
in Lords of Battle, that's huge, man. Like just
exactly. I would say like she's not my top pick for Dunlanding. But if I bring an 800-point list, I would bring her. I think she's just really cool. The defense is cool. The spear's cool. Everyone's always saying mount a hero. Like she's a little bit of like, mount your hero. So I like that aspect of her. Another fight 5. I think it's really cool that she's fight 5. She doesn't really have to heroic strike. Well, she can't to like kill
can't heroic
troops.
She can't heroic strike. Her job is to basically to fight from the second rank. And I mean, I think with Frida, her job in the army is she's the one who calls the heroic moves, right? Because you don't need her points to strike, and if she's fighting for the back rank, you don't need to call heroic defenses with her. She's the one who's like in the second rank, just calling the heroic moves so that Gorulf and Thryden can, save their might to charge forward and try and take out
Yeah.
heroes or do the stuff that
She-
they want to
She
do.
also
Only
messes.
reason- Well, the only reason I
sorry.
might disagree with that is because of the next hero, where you often pick him, and
He's the might
he
battery.
usually spends the heroic moves when he's done marching. So that's the only reason where she may, like, if you have a toss up between them two, and you usually get all four of these heroes in a list at higher point games, but I know we haven't covered them yet, but just
Yeah,
a
but I
thought
like
on
it.
it. So,
It is good thought, and also the Dunlanding force is going to be so big. So like maybe have, as we talked about, 2 might batteries.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
Across the field. But I do.
Well,
like
then
that
that's
you
true.
could-
Yeah, they are a big army, so they
Yeah.
usually need 2 heroic moves. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, you could use her to support a basic fight 3 warrior, and then all of a sudden they're fight 5, and
Yeah,
the
that's-
opponent's hero
Yeah.
loses their charge bonus.
That's what you do with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really freaky if I was a Rohan player, because it's like she's got a 6-inch range just to come on, and you can't really heroic combat because now you're in the same fight.
And that's another perfectly valid tactic with her is, don't call the heroic move as long as your front line is still intact. Figure out where the hero is going to charge, and then when it's your move, you put her behind the guy that he charged.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be so cool if she could, like, when she calls heroic strikes, her fight value still confers to the fight? Like, because normally when you support it, your fight value from heroic strike won't up the fight.
that would be cool if she had heroic strike. I think that would.
Yeah,
be
she
cool.
does not strike.
Yeah.
I'm actually I really like this profile, but it's like you said, they're a lot. It's one of those models where there's a lot of stuff that you might take above her, but on paper, I mean, she's fight 5, defense 6. Obviously, she has her special rules, and me and Rainier always talk. If she gets in a pinch, heroic defense is a very underrated little thing for her to have. I really like this model, especially for 65 points. I think she does a really good job.
I did forget too. She has a shield. She can
Yes,
shield.
she can
Just throw her in.
shield.
She has 4 attacks to shield.
You could exactly. Let's say she gets against like an Aragorn. She calls heroic defense and shields. There's four dice in a heroic defense. It's going to be hard for her to necessarily. It's going to be a lot harder for her to die.
Does she have the highest defense in this list?
Defense
I think
6.
she
Yeah,
does.
she's the only one with a
She's
shield.
She
So
might be.
no, the Dunland
No.
Chieftain. No,
The
never
chieftain
mind.
also comes with a shield.
Oh yeah.
No. The chieftain does not. I'm actually looking at his profile right now. He actually does not come with a shield.
Well, he can swap it for free into a shield.
Yeah, he can
For an
swap it
accent
for
shield.
free.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. I see the bottom. Yeah, the chieftain has defense 6.
All right. So yeah, the
All right,
chief-
should we move on to the next one?
Yep. The next one is the Wildman Oathmaker. He's 55 points. He is a hero of fortitude. He is fight 4, strength 4, defense 4, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 4, 3 might, 1 will, 1 fate. I think the one quick thing about Dunland is they have a lot of 3 might heroes, which is always a really good thing to have in any list, and you can get them in abundance. He has a dagger and heroic strength. His special rules are fearless and hatred of Rohan. He has a special rule called "We Will Die for Saruman." All Wildmen of Dunland included in the same army as the Wildman Oathmaker gain the Isengard keyword for the duration of the battle. And he also has Blood Oath. Friendly Wildmen of Dunland within 6 inches of the Wildman of Oathmaker gain the Fearless special rule. Now that is a huge, huge ability for an army like this to have Fearless.
That's the first fearless buff for evil too, like a range bubble like that. So only good has it.
So he is, especially with how many troops Dunland usually have in their armies when you take them, the ability for all those guys to deal with terror or of dismay or any of that kind of stuff is just massive. And again, he's 55 points, so he's very cheap to go along with it with 3 might. So again, he's another character where you call heroic moves with. So you don't have to worry about Thryden or Gorulf using their might, because you have so many models that they really won't use their might except to move. So you never really have to worry about moves. And if you take 4 named heroes, let's say in an 800 point list, you're going to have 12 might. Like that's a great amount of might.
And he has nothing
he's-
better to
he's
do
great.
anyway.
Yeah, I just have nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the good news with this guy is, as you say, he makes your Wildmen fearless. So your Wildmen can charge the enemy's terror-causing models. Of course, the downside of this is that what's charging into the enemy's terror-causing models are a whole bunch of wild men who will then die, and next turn you need to start making courage tests. So, I mean, I don't know. Somebody tell me, by the way, I at one point I knew this and it escapes me now, what the significance of the fact that the Isengard keyword going to the Wildman of Dunland, does that mean that
it's the 1/3? So basically,
the 1/3.
Yeah, so the Isengard army bonus is really what you have to know. So basically, friendly Isengard models do not start taking courage tests for being broken until at least 66% of the force is removed as casualties. So what happens is you get them down to 50%. So your Isengard heroes don't take courage tests, which means they can't stand fast. So all of your non-Isengard heroes are just kind of left off on their own. You still count as broken, no one takes tests. So the Dunlanding models often suffered because in an Isengard list, they still test and they'll run away. Now it removes them.
Now the wild men that may still be alive at this point in the game will not.
Yes, may still be, as you've been charging them into terrifying models.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. For 55 points, I think the Wildman Oathmaker is a good pick. I think at 800 points is the army level where, like, you get all of these heroes.
Mm-hmm.
I think once you start dropping below 800 points, somebody has to go hero wise, and I think this is the first guy to go, at least for me.
Ooh. I think I keep him just because I'm a horde freak.
The March is usually what I like, but
he doesn't have
March. Though. He doesn't
have March. Oh wait, what does he have? Heroic strength?
His heroic strength.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Okay, I thought he had.
So he is only a might battery and
a fearless
Wildman fearless. So I do see that, Matt. Why you would?
Okay.
Because it is kind of like.
Yeah, I thought he had March. I might rate him a little lower now at this point because I really did think he had March for some reason.
But should we do? Speaking of March, should we do Chieftain next so we can talk about?
Yeah, but let's talk about your probable also fourth pick who's in contention with this, because now I'm a little bit on Matt's side with that.
All right, Nick, if you want to go over the Dunland Chieftain.
The All-Star. There used to be a Wildman Chieftain, but there isn't anymore, which is a shame. So the Dunland Chieftain, 55 points for a man who's an infantry hero. Move 6, fight value 4. He also has a shooting value of 4+ because he can take a bow for 5 points. Strength 5, defense 5, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 4, 2 might, 2 will, 1 fate. So this is quite a unique thing among just random captains to have 2 will points. Normally it's 1.
This is a typo that has since become canon.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all debating like, oh, I wonder is it lore, and it's always just a typo.
Yeah, there is always one of those like pop quizzes at Warhammer World GTs, and they always show, can you guess whose profile this is? Just by guessing, let's say defense and points of will. So it's always like 2 will for general captain. It has to be this guy.
Yeah.
He wears armor. He also carries his bare chest under the armor. Then he carries a dagger and a 200 axe. He has the heroic march. Can take a bow for 5 points, and he can swap his 200 axe for an axe and a shield,
which you should always do.
So right. he could be defense 6, which means he will probably always be defense 6.
Which, is of course not the version of the model that they actually sell, but is definitely the version of the model that you want to put on the table.
Right.
So essentially what you do is you chop off the end of his 200 axe, so it looks like it's a 100 axe, and then you give him a shield.
Isn't it a shame that like packs of models don't come with like 1 extra shield? Like Rohan, Gondor, it doesn't matter. 1 extra shield. That's all you need. Just one.
So this guy, he has heroic march, so he is the only hero here available with heroic march, which makes him vaguely usable.
It's more than vaguely. He's almost essential in this list.
Yeah, he is almost essential.
Yeah. So That's actually quite sad because you essentially have to remove one of the named heroes, and you would probably want to have all 4 of them for theme and all that. But yeah, he will probably be somewhere alongside probably your 3rd pick because you want Thryden and Gorulf, and they're so cheap anyway. You're probably gonna be able to afford another hero, so you stick him in as your 3rd pick, and then if you go into high enough points, you then grab another one of your named ones. But yeah, he's just a generic captain who marches. We all like those.
I mean, they wanted to in this edition make captains worth picking. I mean, some armies they massively failed at that, like in Gondor, where Boromir has March. Like, why would you do that? Now your captains are useless. But in
or the Mirkwood Ranger captain that doesn't have March.
Yeah, that. But in this case, they succeeded. I mean, within this legion, this captain is very useful. So
yeah. Well, I mean, the only other answer to shooting this list has, other than the March that comes with the Dunland Chieftain, is I hope I've bought enough models to soak up the bow fire before I get there. That's the only other anti-shooting strategy this army has.
And you hope they're not wild men, because they're gonna just die, and you're gonna get broken very quickly. Which is actually that was the thought I had throughout this whole review of the heroes so far. That like everyone's just courage 4. If there's a ring wraith on the other side of the board, as soon as you break, the game ends.
Yeah. I mean, basically, you need the Oathmaker to almost tie up the ring wraiths, but then it's like, and maybe goad them into combats to.
But even if there isn't a ring wraith, courage 4 fails like half the time anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh well. I was just saying, like, to tie them up, like throughout the game, like to stop them, because if you have a ring wraith on Felbeast, chances are they're using it to crush your army.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you'd need an Oathmaker in that case to have one guy like charge in a way that they couldn't be hurled, and maybe even bait a heroic combat to drain them of might, so you can come in with the kill later with Thryden. But
well, I mean, don't forget your extra will there, Mick.
Oh, yeah, you do have that extra. You're fine.
That's precisely why they put it there several years ago, before Legions came out.
I mean, this is where I'm not sure if the Legion improves this, but Thryden's 12-inch standfast is going to be essential.
Yeah, that's like your saving grace. So that essentially means you don't want to put Thryden into combat like ever, but best fighter.
He's your grenade you don't want to pull the pin on.
So let's go into the Warriors now. Devin, if you want to go over the Dunlanding Warrior.
Yeah, sure. So we got a Dunlanding Warrior at 7 points. He's fight 3, strength 4, defense 4, 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 3. Armor and an axe is the basic kit, and banner for 25 points, shield. Can swap that axe for a dagger and a bow, or a 2-handed axe for 1 point. So the only way really to make these guys either bow or a shield. Well, obviously a banner. And in the Legion, that's doubly so. Definitely take the banner. But honestly, like, otherwise, though, I mean, you know what? For the Legion, they're solid troops. Outside the Legion, but in the Legion itself, yeah, you're obviously kitting out your core with these guys, and that's your option. And they're not a bad option. They're reasonable. I think I like the fact that they can bring an axe, so that way, you can get higher strength. I think Dunland is an army that, because it kind of tends to accidentally hoard out due to the fact that you can only take cheap heroes, you want to go for the kill more often to kind of like reduce their numbers to a point where they can't handle your horde. But I mean, overall, though, I mean, it's your basic troop, and he does what you need him to do. So I don't know how many bows you're taking, but you've got to take some, and these are your only option, as you'll find out. So any other thoughts on this?
I mean, they are useful to stand in front of pikes, right? They're if you're looking to try and min-max your Isengard army, and you don't want to spend 10 points for a defense 6 Urukai, you can get a defense 5 Dunlanding Warrior for 8 points, and you get everything in there except the defense 6. Basically, you're saving 2 points, and you're getting you're getting somebody who's one less defense that can stand in front of pikes.
Which, of course, if you're losing in front of pikes anyway, you're going to die. So it's like, like in front of a pike block, everyone's doubling strikes against you. And it's probably fitting that if you have to put Dunland in your Isengard list, these guys will die first. So that way that Isengard bonus that doesn't confer to them doesn't matter.
Right.
So,
right. That's showing why fighting for Saruman is really a bad idea.
Exactly.
Nick, if you want to go over the Wildman of Dunland.
Right. So if you ever wondered what is possibly the worst profile in the entire game, this may be up there.
But they have hatred.
So the Wildman of Dunland are 5 points for being 5 value 3, shooting value 4+, but they cannot shoot anything. Strength 3, defense 3, 1 attack, 1 wound, and courage 3. They can be armed with a sword or an axe, and they have an option to take a 2-handed axe for 1 extra point. And they hate Rohan. So they're basically like Goblin Town goblins, but way more expensive.
They're more expensive and worse.
By 25% more expensive.
And they're worse. They can't support each other at all.
And they're worse, yeah. And in fact, if you were to take this guy with a 2-handed axe, then I don't think you can ever find anybody worse in the entire game.
It's so
I don't know. I think you can.
I like him.
I was going to say I'm not a negative fan on these. I actually don't mind them.
They're appropriately costed for what they do.
They're fine to just exist there and like come in on the table.
Here's my argument about it. They're 5 points. You could get and the axe thing is the one thing that makes me like, yeah, I like them because it's that strength 4 with what is it, piercing strike. So you could get 3 strength 4 piercing strike dudes for the same price as 1 berserker. That's what I always compare it to, and that is quite. If you take those numbers and put it across a big list, that's quite a lot of models.
Except Rainier, I don't think berserkers are very good. So,
here's the thing, Nick. You could pay 1 less point for this figure and get a Hobbit militia that would have a move of 4 inches, a fight of 1, and a strength of 2. And otherwise be the same, except the Hobbit militia would get resistant to magic and throwing, strength 1 stones.
Yeah, they really hurt the army by increasing that army by 1 point. That really was painful.
Well, the thing is, chances are that the Wildman is not going to make it into combat with the Hobbit militia because the militia is going to take him out with a rock.
I don't know.
If you have 75 of them, they will.
But you won't anymore because they're 4 points.
So if
true. Comparison to the Hobbit, yes, but Hobbits, their praise profile went up yet in points, but yet nothing changed about them, so it's kind of misleading. But yes, for current game, these guys are better than Hobbits.
These guys are probably sort of the necessary evil that you're gonna have to take in this army anyway.
Yeah,
because you're gonna have to take something to up your numbers, especially if you're investing more into Huscarls. So sadly,
and by the way,
you're gonna take them anyway.
If they're fearless, they're fine for 5 points.
Yeah. Oh yeah, with the Oathmaker. These guys, take 12.
Except you're only taking the Oathmaker as like your 5th hero or something like that.
Well, 4th swap in maybe. It just depends on what you're looking for. But honestly, if you're looking at the way Rainier said it, I think Rainier was spot on. Once you think of him as fight 3, strength 4, defense 1, they kind of become sort of interesting because when they do win, it's like, okay, cool, strength 4 model for 5 points. I'm not mad at it. So
I look at the points difference personally. So I'm more Team Rainier because if you take a warband of the Dunland Warriors, it's 96 points. If you take a warband of the Dunland Warriors, they are 60. So there's 38 points. There's a free banner plus 13 points left over. So you get the extra reroll, which is essentially the other dice. You've buffed up the numbers. Like you said, with the Oathmaker, they're fearless. and they're strength 4. So that's not the only downside to this model really is the defense. And I'm not saying that the defense isn't important, but for all those points difference for the same add-on, I'm more Dunland Warrior than I am. I'm sorry, more Wildman of Dunland than Dunland Warrior. I think you could really spam this out, and then you get more heroes because of it as well. So you could take the Oathmaker with a chieftain. You could take, because your numbers would be so high, and even though bowfire would obviously be an issue, you could do your best to put more Dunland Warriors in the front and at least make it more difficult to kill them.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Like if
Sure.
if a player had the money to buy these things in the packs of 3, they come in, like you spam them.
Oh,
out.
I didn't.
think that's
That part
probably-
I didn't know.
Oh.
That part I
Yeah.
didn't know.
If with the so the I mean, but I'll give it to you. I think if these came in packs of plastic 12, I think you'd probably see more of them spammed in an army.
They're metal
Like,
metal 12 now, actually, for $50.
Are they metal 12?
Metal
Okay,
12.
so
I
maybe
I
that's what I
actually
did.
ended up
Like,
somehow I ended
cut
up
them
with
up,
like
give them all axes.
somehow I ended up with like a ton of these guys.
yeah, that's how it goes over time. When you've been playing for
Yeah.
like so many years.
Yeah, it was one of these things where I like, I kept on, acquiring these kind of like odd batches of Isengard figures, and every one of those odd batches would have like between 6 and 12 of these guys that were primed and never painted. And I think I ended up doing that like 4 or 5 times, and now I've got like 40 of these guys.
Does the Dunlanding army have orc warriors?
No.
Because I was like, I wonder if he like
Spearman. Yeah.
You know what? They're really like orcs that are just like sort of a point less for free strength.
I think you had it spot on with a Goblin Town Warrior, but with an extra fight value with courage. I think.
Well, the problem with Goblin Town Warriors is they can support each other,
They
which
can support each
that's
other, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
Super
what the
crucial.
6-inch flag kind of gives. What we'll talk about kind of gives
Yeah.
these guys a boost too, because you do once you get a 6-inch like banner,
Yes.
yeah.
you're
Because
gonna
Goblin Town
have
doesn't get a banner. I
the-
don't think they have no banner.
Right.
whole thing of
Right.
like now they have 2, like a 5-point dude, strength 4 with two rolls on the fight. Like
I guess you could
possibly
compare.
dehorse something or
Well,
do some shenanigans.
and I'll get into it when we get into the bonus flag, but that's where I think these guys shine as the Legendary Legion with that banner. We'll go into the next profile, which is the Dunlanding Horsemen. Matt, if you want to go over that.
Sure. The Dunlanding Horseman is 12 points. It is a man Dunlanding cavalry warrior, moves 6 inches, but comes with a horse, so that's going to go up to 10 inches. It is fight 3. It is strength 4. It is defense 5. 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 3. Armor, shield, horse, axe, and dagger. It comes with the special rule: slay their horses whilst they have the cavalry keyword defense, which means basically while they're still on their horse. Dunlanding horsemen reroll 1s to wound against mounts. Okay. So I mean, the Dunlanding horsemen are cheap cavalry. They're decent, cheap cavalry. And they're kind of worth their 12 points. They're going to die to any other type of real cavalry, but you can throw a half dozen of these things into a Dunlanding army without breaking the bank. And then you have kind of this mounted strike force that can ride around with Thryden. And, if you send them in and they roll up, they're probably going to, kill whatever infantry they're fighting. This is not cavalry that you ever want to like have fight more than one guy on the ground at a time. But generally you've got enough of them and you got enough foot figures mixed in with them that you don't have to do that. And they're cheap enough that, I mean, so their job is kind of similar to the Wildman. I mean, the Wildmen's kind of main purpose is to kind of exist on the flanks of the Dunlanding warriors, and then they just kind of sweep around to the back to engage the spears, and then trap the guys in front so that the warriors can kill them with their strength 4 or strength 5 if they're piercing. The Dunlanding horsemen, that's their role too. Their role is to kind of sweep around the flanks, hit the back ranks, and they can charge into somebody. If they roll up, he'll be knocked down and he'll die, and you can resolve your Dunlanding warriors first and hopefully kill the front ranks before that happens. And you know what, if it all goes south and they get trapped and they die, well, you've lost the 12-point model. Oh well. That's their role in the list.
Yeah, it's a good take. I mean, 12 points is not much at all if you think of Cav. And that's
Yeah.
also for a defense 5 dude with a shield mounted on top of that. And he can even strike up to strength 5. I don't know if you need to do that too many times, but if you throw him into hero with like more of your heroes, you strike up and stuff, why not go up to strength 5? So I really like these guys. I think like for the exact same reasons Matt said, they're just cheap. They die, who cares? They're good objective takers, not as good as the Crebain that we'll talk about, but they're pretty good. I mean, yeah, I throw in like maybe 4 to 6 like in my 800 list just because I want to. They might not do too much, but yeah, I like them.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much. I'm just going to end up echoing what everyone said. They're good. They're good for 12 points. I think you take a couple, you don't spam them out, and that's. I think the only unfortunate thing about them is that when they're around Frigga, their rule sort of becomes redundant, which is unfortunate because they reroll one. She makes them reroll all, right? Or is she +1 to wound against Mounts? I think it was reroll.
One
Reroll
plus
to
one.
wound rolls.
Yeah,
against
so
Mounts
they
wins
can't
wound.
reroll the one and a reroll at the same time.
I mean, frankly, the reroll the one. I mean,
It's a gimmick anyway.
That's not why you're
Yeah.
taking these guys.
Yeah, that's true. It is a gimmick. You're right. Yeah, that's true. You hopefully you didn't pay a point for that. I still
Yeah.
don't point that
Yeah.
up. But basically, yeah, you take the only contention with these really is with the Crebain. Is like if you have points left for a mobile force, who do you take? Because they both have different roles, but the Crebain, as we're going to discuss, are amazing. So
Yeah, but the Crebain are much pricier. But
of course, yeah, you can get 2 of these guys arguably for ish around the same points, like not ish 4 point over. But.
All right, Rainier, do you want to go over the Huscarls?
Sure. So the Huscarls outside of Frida are the only models with spear support. They are 11 points, fight 3, strength 4, defense 5, 1 attack, 1 wound, courage 4. They're equipped with heavy armor, war axe, and dagger. So the war axe is basically a spear or a 2-handed weapon. Yeah, that's the special rule, spear, 2-handed weapon. They do have bodyguard, so that's kind of where Thryden comes in. And these guys can also pass courage tests. They can work like what we were talking about, the Wildman. They have that role if like a Felbeast comes in behind or anything like that. They also have a special rule called Favor of the War Chief. Dunland Huscarls supporting a fight within 3 inches of a friendly Dunlanding hero model gain 1+ fight value for the duration of the fight. So I was really disappointed when these guys came out, to be honest, because for 11 points, they were only fight 3, and Dunlandings really need fight 4 to like kind of make their army more competitive against other similar hordes. But yeah, you have so many heroes that you typically get fight 4 because you have so many heroes spread out.
You just can't spam these guys out really that much.
Yeah, for 11 points, it's like no way. Like
it's like they didn't want you to take that many spears. It's like they were trying to restrict it from becoming a shield wall army, is basically what it felt like.
Yeah, but it is also like 1 more point, you get a Cav model, and like I think the Cav model for 1 more point, I'd rather take that than this dude. I'm curious what y'all think.
You know what swings
I'm
it?
not really
out of
that
favor?
impressed without taking a few of them.
What swings it out of favor of the Cav model is the bodyguard, which this is the first evil model with the bodyguard in the game. So if you were to take Frigga as your 4th option, as we had discussed earlier, taking these guys starts to become pretty essential in comparison to a Cav model. If they didn't have bodyguard, right there, I would almost like, barring the odd spear support, you throw them behind a hero, give Gorulf the extra spear, support in the Dunland army, but you wouldn't take too many of these. So I think ultimately you probably take about, a little handful per hero, maybe like 3-4 per hero, depending on the your points and all of that. So that's you're definitely using them sparingly. It is a little unusual how restrictive it is. Like, you have to be supporting and you have to be within a friendly of a 3-inch stunning hero. So I think outside of the Dunlanding army, they find their use if you don't want an Oathmaker with a bunch of wild men who could potentially break your army by accident.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing too. Like you go up against other hordes with similar numbers, Corsairs, Gondor, even like fiefdoms, all these lists, they're all at fight 4. So it's like, I don't really want to put all this effort just to tie someone. You know what I mean? Like that's it's not taking it over. It's just making it.
If you think of it like the normal Isengard, I think you take these guys mostly for, once again, it's just that bodyguard. You take like 3, and they just become that unit you could throw and tie up like something you really needed to, like a Shelob or something. And that's kind of the way I'm sort of seeing them, is that, but yeah, I think in the Dunland army even too, I agree with you that the not getting that fight 4. I mean, luckily though, with what we've mentioned, Frigga's in the back rank. Thryden apparently can't go forth very much until the game is kind of winding down. The Oathmaker has nothing better to do but to stand in the back rank. I mean, you have a whole bunch of guys who kind of stand back there with him. So it's like, if you have the Oathmaker, he's very easily able to stand next to 6 of these guys in a line and generate some fight 4 bubbles for you.
I mean, what I've found with the Huscarl is that the purpose of the Huscarl is to stand behind the guy who's managed to trap his opponent. And that gives you the extra attack to try and win the fight. And it's worth, if you're fighting fight 4 guys, if you've got somebody trapped because your cavalry or wild men have kind of run around to the back, it's worth tying the fight value in that circumstance. Because if you tie the fight value and you manage to win the fight, you're pretty much going to kill what's on the other side. And that's kind of the job of the Huscarls, is that they go to the places where you've got a trapped opponent and you try and use them to kind of like make sure you get that kill. And that's their role.
I am if I were to take these, I would take 1 to 2 per warband personally. Just that little useful thing for the hero, or like they said, for the courage, or I don't know that I'd take more than 2 in a warband personally for myself.
That's what I usually do
1 to
too.
2, and I would skip the captain's warband because I don't really see the captain's gonna be so mobile, and I typically make the captain's warband small.
All right.
Yeah, I think I only have 6 of these guys, and I think that's the number.
That's as far as I would probably go with 6.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen more, and I've seen more used effectively. I think probably 2 per hero, and I think there's nothing wrong having a couple of these guys running around with the captain's warband too, if you've got the points for it. Because I mean, their point is not to back up the captain. Their point is, although they can do that, their point is to, you pick like the one fight that you really want to win because you think you can kill that figure, and that's where they go.
All right, we'll move into the last profile, which is the Crebain. They're 20 points. They are move 4 inches, but they can fly, so that's essentially.
Wait a second. We have to talk through the keywords, because I believe they are the only bird keyword in the game. Are they not?
Eagles?
I don't think
Eagles have an eagle keyword.
Eagle keyword.
Yeah.
These are unique.
Because an eagle is not a bird.
Just like Frigga had the woman keyword, which used to mean something.
Oh, by the way, Nick, never call an eagle a bird, because boy, do they get upset. You do not want to make that mistake at a party.
Especially if there's a lot of green everywhere.
Okay, so it's a bird infantry warrior. Like I said, 20 points. It is essentially move 12, but obviously if it got stock, it'd be 4 inches. Fight 2 with a 6+ shoot value, strength 2, defense 3, 2 attacks, which is kind of good. 4 wounds, and courage 3. It has beaks and claws. So I guess if you shattered the beak, you can use the claws.
No, you can't do that. They FAQ that you can't shatter beaks.
You can't. Okay.
Yeah,
It's shatterproof.
Unshutterable.
I love that sentence.
It's PETA coming into play here. They're like, wait a minute.
So that's the Hunger Games. Stupid joke. The first special rule is keen sight. Enemy models within 12 inches of 1 or more Crebain gain no benefit from the stalk unseen special rule. So it's good to get those elven cloaks out of the way. Anything with stalk unseen.
Let's be clear, no one is taking these things for that rule.
I want to hide Radagast in this thing. And the second one, which is obviously the main benefit, is the Cloud of Birds. Shooting attacks will only ever hit a Crebain on the roll of a natural 6. And so when it only hits on a natural 6 and it has 4 wounds, it is not very easy to kill when it comes to shooting. It is obviously possible to kill, but it's not easy to kill with shooting. And for 20 points, to almost kind of have, to an extent, a shield for your warriors in front, it's almost like Blinding Light, essentially. So it's like a 20-point Blinding Light for your tree. And because the model spreads out, it can cover a large portion of a warband. So you could almost theoretically put 1 per warband and almost cover the entire thing.
Whoa,
Just
wait,
don't-
what?
don't-
Like,
don't
if you're,
put
if
models-
you're
referring to line of sight blocking.
Yes.
Yeah. If you were to model the figure so that way it spans outward, which is gaming a little bit, but if you span it outward, because only a piece of any of them. Well, wings don't count, so you actually would have to count the body only. But if any piece of that body is covered,
Oh my
in the
God!
model-
Can you imagine the
Yeah.
precision measurement that would be? I hate this line of sight rule. I mean, I could just imagine a half-hour argument at Articon about whether the line of sight went through the wing of this damn Crebain.
I have had to do those judge rulings. They suck. You know what? The damn tree. The
That's
tree is
that's the
Yeah.
thing I'm thinking about when I think about it. It's the tree. It's the main line of sight blockers. What I think of when I think of it.
But yeah, no, it's silly. But honestly, like, you know, with the Crebain, the versatility of these guys is absurd. Like, the flight is the cherry on top. But 12-inch, being able to contribute 2 attacks to any heroic combat, you get Thryden in on a combat, throw in these birds, boom. Like, the fact that you can throw them against heroes who haven't charged them, and now the hero's totally tied up against 4 wounds. You know, they can hold objectives, and you actually got to go and chase them off of it because you can't shoot them off.
Shoot! Go away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
I think you hit it. Like there's 3 things that they do really well. Objectives, they can grab them. They can go by themselves too because they can't be shot out. Trapping models, because you can like throw them against heroes, trap models, or delay, which I feel like Dunlanding needs. You don't want all your troops to be killed. You, like you said, throw them into a hero. They can't heroic combat and kill it because it has 4 wounds, unless they charge on a horse. And then you just have Crebains and all of your heroic defenses, heroes and stuff, and you're just delaying everything from happening. It's a really
utility is amazing. I actually recommend hands down minimum 1, but I usually, like an 800-point army, you're bringing 2 of these, like, you know.
You can also, if you can manage to get like 3 or 4 of these in a list, the other use they have is because they're on a 40 mil base, is they can just create a wall.
Yeah.
And you can just have them like fly over the top of your army and just like wall off a 6 to 8 inch section of the enemy's army that like he can't get past these birds. And, you know, they'll go down, but, you know, in that turn, you've kind of like walled off this key section of the enemy's army. And then you can go in and kind of like crush the rest of it.
Yeah.
And turn on them.
And the flexibility, 20 points is not bad at all.
it's a
For what they deliver on, 20 points is a steal for these things.
Well, this
and
is
actually, it used to be the war bats for me. That would be like, oh man, I'm trying to stick these
These
in.
guys are like war bats light, but like really light with the price. So it's like, oh my gosh,
The
like
4 wounds is huge. That's the part for me where it's like this comes back to the Wildman of Dunland debate where you could have 12 and 12. You could fit 2 Crebain for the same cost as a warband of the Dunland Warriors. So this is why I tend to go with the Wildman of Dunland, because you get 2 Crebain. And like I just made the point of, if you put them in front, you could get essentially a wall to block your Dunland Warriors, and it's like having blinding light.
Oh, wait. No, it isn't. Because if you're aiming your arrows at Dunland Warriors, you hit on normal rolls, and then on 1, 2, 3, it hits your Crebain and kills your Crebain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
It's not quite like blinding light. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was clarifying earlier. It's still you still need an in
I
the
see.
way.
Yeah. Okay. I overthought that. Yep.
But I do see what you say, Tim. Like all of these things, like are really good pointed. Like this is good pointed. The horse is good pointed, and it's like but the Wildman.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Dunland is a very well costed army. I don't think anything except for Huscarls. But
Huscarls,
but other than that, they're very affordable, which actually allows you to bring the Huscarls because they're so effectively cost. So
Yeah, I mean, it's clear they didn't want armies of Huscarls, and they have set the point value at a level relative to its benefits that you will see a few of them, but not an army of Huscarls.
Yeah, it's like almost like started with a point value, then worked backward from there, trying to fit rules to it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the thing, Tim, you said about taking 12 and 12, you have 12 Crebain for 240 points, 12 Dunland for 60. That's your 300. Then you just add 2 heroes. It's almost like a 450 point list.
Yeah, I really like the cost efficiency of the Wildman of Dunland, because strength 4 and them being able to move obviously at 6 inches, I think you can add a lot of cool things to these lists if you spam them, and you get a lot of numbers. And even though shooting will, once you get into combat, it's completely different. And once we get into the Legendary Legion, we'll explain why, in my opinion, they get a lot better in Dunland when you take them, in my opinion, over the Warriors.
It's not a cookie cutter list too, because it's the fact that your opponent's going to have to worry about, they're not going to be like, oh, look, there's your weak point Wildman of Dunland. They're going to be like, oh, shoot, there's Crebain over there. There's a strength 5 cab over here. That's defense 5. There's all these other banners. There's all these heroes, 4 to 5, like really good heroes that are all soft, but also really hard in combat. Like all of that, they're going to, and then of course you can spam out shooting too. So you could 800 point army have like 16, 17 shots. It's the Wildmen, I feel like in a big list, just they're there.
That's a really
the opponent
good point,
like doesn't, they're not focused too much on them, because if they only focus on them, everything else is going to play.
You could, if you did go to the Wildman route, spam so many bows with this army if you decided to do so. Because
trust me, Tim, I've done it.
So, I mean, that's a really good point, though. I never thought of Rainier. If you did decide to go the Wildman route, that's 12 models for 60 points. You could add 4 bows for, you know what I mean? Like, it becomes that thing where you really could spam out bows with this if you went the Wildman route, and then you still guarantee numbers. Unless there's any other final thoughts on the Crebain.
I guess, I mean, I've never, I mean, you can't get a lot of bows with this army. The thing I would caution you on is that you can get a whole lot of bows in this army and still lose the shooting war because your defense is so low.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
Be careful with that.
I
or somebody else is going to show up with blinding light, and you know, and all of a sudden you're, I've got 20 bows in this army, and I'm being shot out by 8.
But I think the bows, like 17 or 16 bows, is a combination of that with a spam, with heavy hitting heroes, with Crebain, with Cav, all of that, the smorgasbord, like the whole buffet of it is the fear that it's not like you don't have to rely on your shooting. You can flip to be like they're in combat. I'm going to shoot them into combat and make things more just spicy. I feel like it all has to go together.
We will go into the Legendary Legion finally. Legendary Legion, the additional rule is an army of Dunland must include Thryden, and Thryden becomes a hero of valor, and he's always So basically, Thryden has to be there, and he goes up +3 models in his warband, and he's the leader.
I mean, if he's going to be the leader, you may as well have him be a hero of valor, because then you get more guys in his warband.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can take Thryden with horse. You can take Gorulf, Frida, Wildman Oathmaker, Dunland Chieftain, Dunland Warrior, Wildman, Dunland Horsemen, Huscarl, and Crebain.
To cut to the chase, you can take everybody we've talked about today.
I just thought about that halfway through. That me being silly. First rule: death to the Forgoil. Friendly Dunland models get Hatred of Rohan special rule. Not that great, but if you happen to come up against Rohan, it'll be awesome.
It's really great. Yeah.
Yeah. No, if you come against Rohan, it's a nasty day. Like, that's bad.
This is where, I'm sure Rainier will have something to say about this as well. This is the best rule in the list, in my opinion. Dunlanding Pride. The range of banners in this army is increased to 6 inches. I think that this is what makes you take them and spam the Wildmen, because when you have a banner and a full warband plus 13 points left over for the same cost as a full warband of the, plus you get if you take the Oathmaker, they're fearless. I think they really start to have this ridiculous kind of 5-point models and you spam them like crazy, you probably fit 2 chieftains in for double march, and you still can add all the big name heroes as well. So I think
this rule is pretty essential.
yeah, I love that. I love that rule.
Yeah, this is like one of the only lists that I would maybe. I don't think if I would do it, I don't think I would do it, but I would consider 2 banners.
I would really consider 2
Because
banners.
I would
like
actually
12
strongly
pages.
consider 2 banners.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 800 points, I always take 2 banners with this list.
Because you got a really widespread list that's trying to maneuver around the opponent because of your lack of spears. So you got to handle 2 flanks. So
Yeah.
I think 2
And
banners.
we're just talking about the 1 extra attack for the Wildman. Think about your Cav.
Yep.
That's 3 attacks
Yeah.
on the charge. Think about even the Crebain, or think about all the heroes growth. Like it's quite freaky to come up against.
Yes, absolutely. I love that rule so much. And the final rule is Dunlanding War Cry. Once per game, at the start of any fight phase, Thryden can declare that he's using this ability. Till the end of the turn, friendly Dunlanding models within 12 inches of Thryden gain a +1 to wound when making strikes. So it's basically that Gothmog rule with the Legendary Legion, where once per game, everybody within 12 inches gets +1 to wound. Except
And
Gothmog's was reroll, right?
Gothmog has both. He's reroll and
Is it reroll and okay?
Yeah, but I mean, with this is just another reason that it's like you can't throw Thryden in too quickly, because you probably want to maximize how many combats you're in before using this rule, just to get the best effect. So that means it's like you're really waiting to the best moment. But then it's like, all right, you're all in combat. You don't want to use that opportunity, so you really want to wait till you wheel around and start trapping. So it's like you got to keep Thryden safe until you can make that move.
Yeah, so this is one of these rules, and the Gothmog rule is another one where you'll see a lot of people who will forget about this rule until it's too late to be useful. And this is one of these rules where on the turn when the lines clash and pretty much everybody's coming together, you just call it.
I've always thought that. Yep.
And
what about in a scenario though where you don't forget? Like if you knew if you play this army enough where you just know you have that rule in your back pocket, would you still say the same advice?
So I've played against too many Dunlanding opponents who have basically said, "Oh, this isn't quite the time," and they keep on saying that every turn until like a third of their figures are dead, and then it's never going to be the time.
Yeah.
So
I like
get the advantage early and just swing it.
Because it is like you're only fight 3. They don't have all support or whatever.
So
just call it in the beginning of the game. You might kill 20% of the engagements, and even if you just get a little bit, that's going to kind of turn the battle.
And if they can't shield, that's especially when you take advantage of it first turn if you hit the lines, because they can't do anything to prevent it.
So actually, I had a game with Gothmog against David Clubley, who was playing this Legion at Aragon last year. And that's exactly what happened. In the first turn of combat, we both called our things. And then
like, just do it.
Yeah, it was essentially him going, "Oh," and then I went, "The time of the orc has come. The time of men is over."
Cool in those moments of the game happen, man. Oh, you're fighting a man army too. Oh,
yeah.
That would actually be pretty.
And then every time I was rolling to wound, I was like, "The time of the oak."
I mean, that's one thing you'll know about that is you'll definitely have a short game.
Yeah, right.
Can't say who's gonna win, but it'll be
like half of the table is removed. Like,
that's right.
All right. Well, that is Dunland. Thank you for tuning in. As always, leave lists in the comment section below so we can go over them. If you have any questions as well, we'll always try to answer those if we can. As well, as a reminder, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're looking to listen there instead of on YouTube. As well, if you're interested in leaving any topics you'd like for us to discuss, please leave that as well. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.